G'day guys, welcome back to Midweek Musings. Tonight we've got our cutaway competition. This time it's much harder. It's a bit of a night scene. So the deal is, if you think you know the street that's being shown in the cutaway, just text me or email me what you think the location is, and I'll make sure you get a chocolate bar, as did Eliza Collins last week when she guessed the street was Oxford Street. We've also got classic recipes from Church Morning Teas, this time featuring Kath Reed. They're really good, they're kryptonite for the Weight Watcher, but she'll be bringing us her choc chip cookie recipe. So I'd encourage you to cook them, eat them yourself, or pass them on to someone else. And then we'll do an interview with Dan Mason. So hopefully you can stay with us to the end.
Hi everyone, my name's Kath Reed and I have been on the morning tea roster for quite a few years. We came to Epping Baptist when our youngest Sophie was 2 weeks old, and she's now nearly 17, and I think I joined in that first year or so. So it's been a while. I often make my mum's Gwen's choc chip biscuits. Mum and Dad go to the 10:45 service. And I do this because you can double the recipe, quadruple the recipe, and you can freeze the biscuit batter. So yeah, you can just pull it out of the freezer and slice off a few biscuits and put them in the oven, or save them for another time, whether it be youth group or whatever. So in this I've melted 125 grams of butter, and you can use just the one bowl. I've let that cool, and then I've added a cup of brown sugar. And then I added an egg and a dash of vanilla, probably a teaspoon of vanilla, and 1.5 cups of flour. Now it looks like this. Then you add, it says 1 cup of chocolates, but I don't think you can have too many, so I'll put those all in. Jonathan Matthews at youth group said these are one of his favourites. And another youth group has said they were nearly as good as Ros Hall's, which I took as a huge compliment. And when the girls were in primary school, I would make giant choc chip bickies, put them in a little bag with a ribbon instead of cupcakes. So the trick with it is to get it to this stage and then put it in the fridge for about 10-15 minutes. So I'll do that now. So I've just made little balls of the biscuit mixture, and I'm going to freeze the rest just like this. And then when you want some biscuits, you can either cut off a chunk and then, slice it up and roll into balls. So I'll just put it in the oven for 12 minutes, and then let's see how they go. Okay, so they're out of the oven, and then I just flatten with a fork. You don't have to do that, but it just seems to get them to cook. They look a little bit raw, but they'll harden once they're on the tray, and then leave them to cool for about 10 minutes on the tray.
Jonathan Matthews was correct. Delectable. These are almost as good as Ros Hall's.
Thank you, girls. Enjoy.
Hi Dan, welcome to Midweek Musings.
No, thank you very much.
Just for all you viewers out there, Dan's one of our legendary youth leaders and is part of our Fellowship Young Adults group. But Dan, don't let me hog your backstory. Can you tell us a bit about your background?
BC, it must have been since around when I was in year 10. So I would have been around 16 years old. So that would have been, like 4 years ago now? 4 or 5 years ago. So I've been here sort of on and off since then. I started coming along to Friday nights at Amplify for the youth group, and kind of from there gradually got more involved and ended up coming back as a youth leader to help out. So that's kind of how I've been involved with Epping. And before that, I wasn't really with the church. So Epping's kind of been my first home, which is, and I've loved being here, and I've really enjoyed it. And the people here are lovely.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome, mate. Mate, can you tell us what you're doing now? Like, what do most of your days look like?
At this time, well, like most people at home, although that's changed a little bit in the last few days, being able to go out a little bit. But most of the time I'm studying. I'm studying at the moment at Macquarie, just via computer at this time. I'm currently doing a Doctor of Medicine at Macquarie. So most of the time I'm either at home doing lectures or tutorials. But that's not the only thing I've been doing. Like I've been being able to engage with things like Bible study through online things like Zoom. I've also been doing a little bit of work. I'm very fortunate and very thankful that I've been able to stay doing a bit of work from home for the university. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing most of this time in these last couple of weeks.
So what's the whole experience been like as a young adult trying to study university at home? How have you found the isolation and just the whole time of COVID-19?
I think it's been challenging, obviously. I mean, for me, it's been a bit of a different story to, I think, other people who might be living, say, as a student on their own. I'm still living with my family, and I still have a brother who also goes to university. So it's been, I think, a bit easier for me in terms of being able to still connect with other people studying at this time. I can do appreciate the challenge. It's not quite the same not being able to do a lot of the practical stuff of learning, so whether being it in class or doing practical assessments. But I've also found it to be, in some ways, beneficial being able to slow down a little bit and focus on different things. But yeah, I have found it to be pretty different, but it's also, I've really enjoyed, or I've really benefited from the way that the university has been able to shift everything online. And I'm quite thankful for all the hard work that the teachers have put in to keep teaching us, despite this being a big impact on obviously everyone's lives.
And what's it been like? I know your job involves you contacting other students just to see how they're travelling, particularly international students. What's it been like for students more broadly? How tough has it been?
Yeah, so I've been involved with a bit of the calling campaigns that Macquarie has been doing. So they were seeking to reach out to students, first of all, just as a phone call to see how they're going, and also to provide some support. And through that, I've been able to contact both domestic and international students at Macquarie. And there's a bit of a range of responses in terms of some people have not had much of an impact. They haven't been hugely impacted in terms of finances or health. There's been others, particularly the international students, I think is a community that's been pretty hard affected, since they first of all not able to access some of the support that the government gives to domestic students. And also a lot of them would probably be working in sort of part-time jobs as they study, and that's been difficult because obviously a lot of people have lost part-time jobs. So I think overall there's been a bit of a mixed response from university students. Some have been not greatly impacted, others have been quite severely impacted. So it's been distressing to see, but it's also been nice to see that the university and different organisations, including the government, has been there to try and give a bit of a helping hand where they can.
Well, it's been so great to talk to you, Dan. Could I just ask you one last question? And just, what's the difference that faith in Christ has made for you through this whole period?
Yeah, I think one thing in particular that I've got out of this time was, as I mentioned a bit earlier, it's been an opportunity to slow down a little bit and to think about what really matters at this time, or indeed what really matters in the long term. And so I feel like I've been able to draw a bit closer to God at this time, engage with Him a bit more, and that's given me I guess, a sense of hope and a sense of comfort. It's also been really wonderful to still meet with other Christians in an online sense and pray and be encouraged that way. So I feel like faith in terms of fellowship with other people has been wonderful in terms of encouraging each other in the church and just in general. But also for myself, it gives me a hope beyond what might be going on, particularly when it seems like the world has taken a turn for the extreme, I guess. It gives me a sense that while things might be seeming to be going all over the place, that there's someone behind that who's looking out for us, someone who knows everything that's been happening, but it's not going to be overcoming him. So I think having a faith in God has given me grounding at a time where there's a lot of uncertainty. And it's a struggle sometimes to trust in that when things might seem like it's going all over our heads. But I've, I guess, got to learn, and I think we all do need to learn just to rest and trust in God and know that He's got us through this whole thing. And indeed, not just now, but throughout all eternity.
Oh, thanks so much, Dan. It's so good to speak to you.